So I want to continue expounding upon being able to start shifting into this new speaking spotlight trajectory and starting to build a new communications, a speaking empire. And I was sharing that a lot of times you look at your speaking as an aspect of the business, of a component of your empire, but not necessarily seeing it as the empire itself. And so it's much like with the media, something that I teach is that people see social media or different elements and aspects and they see it as components of what they're doing instead of actually looking at everything as a whole. It is the empire. Communications and the media is actually your empire. And that's the direction in terms of where the business dynamics are shifting into the preneurial aspect. So being a communicationspreneur, speaking preneur is really the trajectory that you're shifting into, but it's going to look different. And that's something that I talked about in part one of this particular topic here. But as you are shifting into this newer trajectory, there's a lot that's going to take place because you yourself are going to change and level up on levels like never before. It's going to be like a complete makeover because you've been metamorphosized at this point and you're really beyond the cocoon of your experience. And so with that evolution, as I mentioned before, is what's going to be optimized. And this is what you're going to leverage as your new foundation to build out this next level of a speaking empire. And so it's going to be something that's pretty glorious because it's one of those aspects that emerges that you've been through going through the process of developing yourself, and much like the butterfly who knows it's been developed into a completely different entity than the process it went through, but it hasn't had an opportunity to look at itself. And so you're going to be able to actually see yourself, see what was developed. And the more you're outside of a particular journey that you've been evolving, through, is you're going to get to witness yourself in a more illuminate state. And that is what the spotlight is in terms of being in this new speaking spotlight trajectory, because the speaking and the spotlight are really one and the same. And when you're communicating, you are communicating the more illuminate message, the more illuminate part of who you are. And that is, again, the evolution, but that's the part that has to be optimized. So what you'll see happen within the empire development of this is that, again, it's going to take on a completely different format than what you're accustomed to. And a lot of you are going to have these pioneer expressions. So you're not actually going to be able to look out in the market and see someone else doing what it is that's going to come forth through you. Now, with my branding, there's going to be different elements because I'm multiplicity, spiritual multiplicity and conscious multiplicity pioneer. I'm the chief multiplicity pioneer energy. So I do display a lot of different uninstitutionalized formats. And so there may be some different components that are leveraged from what I bring to the table. And then especially if you get the opportunity to work with me, then I'll be able to be present with what your pioneer speaking advantage is and how you'll position yourself as the spotlight, but again, not to get far off the track and digress too much, is that what's developing or what has developed that you haven't been able to really look at this point, again, looks completely different. It will contain some of the elements that you have been developing and things that you've been having a vision about in terms of what your speaking empire or speaking agenda would look like. But what you find is that a lot of that is going to be the smaller component because there's something much more expansive that wants to come forth. Now, something that I mentioned in terms of more simplified models and things are going to start emerging, but there'll be models within models because it's going to be a multi-level communications empire, multi-level speaking empire. And said, well, how do you know that? Well, because that's what's emerging for a new era of communicating. And so I'm pretty solid on that, that you just won't have this kind of one-dimensional type of speaking business or communications business. But yeah, but it's coming forth, and it's going to be, like I said, part of your metamorphosis, but it will be the more illuminate factor, and you want that. And so I mentioned previously that one of the reasons why your speaking empire has not taken off a certain way, and even if you've been successful with it, but you've lost some momentum, and you feel like, okay, even though it may be going good, you feel like a shift is going to occur, but you don't know what it is. But you know that the model that you're leveraging is not going to be something that is sustainable. So the shift has to be made now. And it's just the opportunity to look at the evolution, to look at what has metamorphosized, and then ultimately be able to say, now how do I not only optimize this, but use this in the newest context, use it beyond the cocoon of my journey. And again, that means you're going to be communicating something new and different. The way you're going to be showing up is going to be new and different. There's going to be new signature messages. And you'll find that a lot of what you have been talking about and speaking on is going to really sort of convert itself into audio products or into publications, because those are no longer the forefront messages. You know, they've kind of been the forerunner of this grander context, but that has to decrease so that the metamorphosis and the evolution of your speaking can increase, because that's what's going to be illuminate. And so these are things I want you to just be thinking about. And of course, I'm here to assist with that, and you can learn below how I can provide some opportunities for you. But I want you to be present with not just this particular message, but also the first part, so that you can just start to have that grander awareness, and then start to expand that awareness that, yeah, something else is emerging. And so it's giving you the opportunity in the moment to give pause, in a sense, not necessarily stop and come to a complete halt, but give pause and let the progression that's ensuing reveal to you a grander unfolding than what you have been already preparing for or planning. And so you'll see it all come together. It will be a cohesive structure in a sense. But again, the difference between something taking flight and soaring versus something that's been inching along and crawling like a caterpillar, just time to see the evolution, time to see that metamorphosis, because it's going to be what you build this next level of your empire. You're going to build it from that place, and it's a very high-end energy and very high-level impact, on multi-different levels. So just, be prepared for that, because this next level of building you and building your empire, which are one and the same, is going to blow your mind. And you're going to speak on levels that you didn't even know you had that level of a gifting. You knew you were a great communicator and content provider, and being able to be a great articulate speaker and convey and deliver your message in a way. But what's going to come forth in your evolution is, again, I believe that you're just going to be mind blown at your deliverables during this season. So again, I'm here to help, and check below how you can work with me and even my team in terms of being able to build this next level of your speaking and communications empire.